welcome to Dreamland, a program dedicated to an examination of areas in the human experience not easily nor neatly put in a box. Things seen at the edge of vision, awakening a part of the mind as yet not mapped, and yet things every bit as real as the air we breathe but don't see. This is Dreamland. Sunday night in the high desert, Dreamland on the air again. Hi, everybody. I'm Art Bell. This is going to be an intriguing program. Listening. Linda Howe, as usual. Something about Bigfoot, I think. Remember that horrendous scream? Maybe she's got it one more time. We'll find out. After airing that scream, we've been getting a lot of response, shall we say. People who have heard similar horrendous things. So that'll be Linda Howe coming up in a moment. And then JoAnn Parks, the owner of the ancient Texas crystal skull, Max, the crystal skull, along with Star Johnson Moser, who's going to in some way back her up. We're going to find out. I think Star's done a lot of work with the skull. Now, JoAnn is in Texas, and Star is in Missouri. So all of that is just ahead on Dreamland. And as I listened to the open, I thought I was hearing phrases of my own like the air we breathe and things that can be put in a box and things that can't. I thought, Alpine, that's the air we breathe. And it comes in a air. Of course, we will find the world's expert on crop circles and animal mutilations, and has branched out really into other areas of UFO-related phenomenon. Linda Moulton Howe. Linda, welcome to the program.
Hi, Art.
Hi.
Well, you know, those recordings of that alleged Bigfoot scream near Snohomish, Washington, that I played again last weekend, were heard by another Dreamland listener who lives in central Utah. She said that she could not believe that in the week after hearing the alleged Bigfoot screams on Dreamland, she heard the same kind of sound near her Utah mountain home. She has asked to remain anonymous, but allowed me to record an interview with her about the sounds in an area of central Utah where friends of hers also encountered a Bigfoot-like creature in 1992.
All right.
I will call her Mrs. Smith, and here now our excerpt from this week's interview.
All right. Mrs. Smith.
I listened to your recording, and I just thought, well, that's interesting. I've heard that before on the tape, okay, that I had a friend given to me years ago, and I thought no more of it. Then we went to our property, and we were just working around there, and that evening we went to bed, and it was about 11 o'clock, and we heard this sound. And I thought I recognized it, but then I paid no attention to it, and we just went about our business and went to bed. And this creature, whatever it is, squealed all night long into the morning. And so then morning came, and I told my husband, asked him if he had heard the sound, and he said yes, and it went all night. And I said, well, that was Bigfoot. Well,
in that same central Utah area 3 years ago, a family of 5 that she knows had a face-to-face encounter with a Bigfoot-looking creature while deer hunting. The family doesn't want to be interviewed either for radio, but Mrs. Smith remembers what happened.
Well, they saw this big buck, and it was just frozen, like it was suspended. And I told them that I have just understood that when Bigfoot comes around, that the animals just freeze. And she said that's how they perceived everything around there, like everything was in a frozen state. And so she shot the buck, and she and her husband and her children got out, and they proceeded to gut the buck. And then they felt like something was staring at them. And so they turned and looked, and here they thought this great big huge bear was hunched over, and instead it stood up, and it was a Bigfoot. It was about 100 to 200 feet from them, and he was staring right at them, and she said the arms dangled way down past the knees, and when he turned to look at each of the family members, he turned from his waist, his upper torso turned, and they described how it looked, how it had the hair on the face, how the eyes had hair except for, you know, where the pupils and things are. And then that was it, but they just said it was about 8 feet tall or taller. And that was about it. And they said it had between a dark and a brown hair. And then he turned and went up the mountainside. And they just stood there frozen. And they just couldn't believe what they had seen. And then finally they collected their faculties together, and the girl went over and looked at the footprints because it had just snowed, and she just said they were enormous. And I said, oh my gosh, why didn't you take a picture or something? And instead they came down into the camp, and when they came into the camp they told their friends about it, and of course their friends didn't believe them. And then they went back the next day, and there was a deer there, and she thought it was very unusual because the rectum of the deer had been cored out.
Now, Art, historically, Bigfoot has been associated with animal mutilations in which rectums have been cored out as well as other excisions since going back to at least the early 1970s. And in one famous case near Elizabeth, Colorado, east of Colorado Springs, a rancher watched a huge, hairy Bigfoot creature run from the pasture and knock down a section of fence around his ranch house. This was investigated by several scientists, and it was reported to the sheriffs there. I talked with the sheriff and deputy when I was working on my documentary, A Strange Harvest, about this incident where this big, huge, they estimated above 8 foot tall, hairy creature had literally run into the fence, knocking it down, and the big creature ran across the yard. And not far from there, at that same time period, 2 cows had been found dead with their rectums cored out and other typical excisions of tissue associated with unusual animal deaths, raising, again, that issue, is there some connection between these creatures and maybe some of the mutilations? Sure. And in one of the strangest Bigfoot cases on record, the Cascade County Sheriff's Office in Great Falls, Montana, had a 1976 file on a rancher who was out hunting and encountered a creature at least 8 feet tall with reddish-brown hair, and in this case, the eyes were reported to be glowing red. The rancher shot at this Bigfoot creature, and it disappeared in a flash of light, and that sentence was officially recorded in the Cascade County Sheriff's file. Wow. Yeah, what is it that could disappear in a flash of light? And at the same time, the Cascade County Sheriff's Office was flooded with animal mutilation reports and eyewitnesses who were saying and reporting moving lights and discs above pastures and above their homes.
Linda, there is a name for the kind of creature that's able to take any form, isn't there?
Well, from a shamanic tradition, yes, there would be what they would call the shapeshifters.
Yes, indeed. That's exactly what I was after, thank you. Shapeshifters. Yeah. Is it possible that it could be that kind of creature?
Well, you know, we are in such unexplored, unknown territory. I suppose anything is possible, but I personally am intrigued by the idea that there is some connection between these creatures that have been linked in several states, even including South Dakota. Big moving lights and these strange big hairy creatures on the ground also associated with mutilations. It's possible that they may have a technological link to what we refer to as the disc craft, or someone else has postulated the possibility that we could be dealing even in some of these cases with very sophisticated holograms that somehow have been engineered to do work on this planet and that in actuality are not strictly biological and have this escape mechanism of going back into some kind of an electronic form if threatened in some way. All that sounds like science fiction and highly speculative, but the rancher went far enough to call the Cascade County Sheriff's Office and report that he had shot with his .30-06 rifle right at this huge creature in front of him and that it disappeared in a flash of light.
I don't suppose you still have that sound, do you?
Yeah, I do, and if you guys would like to hear it one more time.
One more time. I'm telling you folks, get out your recorder quickly, hit record. You've never heard a sound like this, and if you ever do, you'll be running. I sure would be. So if you've got one more time.
Here we go, and as you listen to it, just ponder this question, but it remains to say, could these sounds and these Bigfoot creatures be part of the UFO phenomenon? Here we are.
Now listen closely. It's coming up here in just a moment, I'm sure. This was a creature recorded. Now listen carefully. Uh-oh, it won't play.
Just a second.
No, we're with you. You may not...
There you have it.
Linda, there's something about that one. I don't know what it is. It just sends a shiver right up my back.
Yep, and everyone who's ever heard it knows that they're hearing something that is distinctly not a cat, not a wolf, not a coyote.
No, and I might have even imagined it had glowing red eyes. I'd be gone. Listen, Linda, I want to give you a little news on the Roswell front.
Right.
On my syndicated weekly program, I interviewed Ray Santilli from London.
Great.
Spent about 30 minutes with him, and I was sort of impressed with the guy because he unabashedly will say he's coming at this from a commercial point of view. He's not a ufologist. He's a guy who's working on a film about Elvis Presley, for heaven's sake. Ran into the film, and I found, his easy admission of all that to be credible. I don't blame him. That's not saying that the photos are real, but then he gave me permission, Linda, to publish those 5 photographs in my newsletter.
Right, that George Wingfield and I talked with our Dreamland audience about from Seattle.
I've done a little enhancement work on those photographs, and I'll tell you, Linda, I'm not a ufologist. To me, it's very strange and eerie that this creature is sort of human, but not quite human.
Right. I think everybody has had that reaction. I think one person said, well, this is sort of what I always thought an alien would look like.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah.
I did.
That's right. You did, but somebody else said that to me also.
Uh-huh. All right. Well, look, a wonderful report as always. Do you know anything about crystal skulls? This is new territory for me. I've got no idea what I'm about to be talking about, Linda. What do you know about a crystal skull?
Yeah. There have been at least 2, if not more, that have surfaced in this century. The most famous was, I think it was taken from a dig in Guatemala.
That's where this one we're going to be talking about came from.
And it is perfectly machined. I believe that one even has moving teeth in the skull. And the big question has been, could this be a modern 20th century creation to be planted to cause a big hoax? That is what some people argued. However, others who were associated with that dig and that find insist that where the skull was found was associated with artifacts and layers that simply defied the 20th century explanation. And then, if it is prior to the industrialized age, how could anyone in past centuries have taken one solid piece of quartz crystal and carved it with the fineness of this skull, which you probably have a photo of.
I do.
And do so that even the teeth, as I understand it, could move. I have never held this in my hands. I have talked with people who have, and they say that there is something eerie about its perfection.
Yes. All right. Linda, next week again from Philadelphia.
Yes, I'll be back here.
A great report. And do you want to give out any information quickly?
Well, I'm always looking for reports on Bigfoot, mutilations, abductions, crop circles, all of the unusual, unexplained phenomena, and I would love to hear from people at my fax number area code 215-491-9842, or please write to me at Post Office Box 538 in Huntingdon Valley, Pennsylvania, zip code 19006. I always keep confidences, and I only share the names of people who give me permission, and the big value is getting reports and getting the information.
Linda, thank you. Talk to you next week.
Okay, Art.
Linda Moulton Howe, pretty generally acknowledged to be the world's expert on crop circles and animal mutilations. Many of you have no idea there is a Senate bill right now, really an existing, introduced Senate bill that will establish a new money, colored money, different colored, multicolored money, ugly no doubt. But that's not the big news. The big news is we get a two-tiered money system. That means one currency used inside the country, another one outside. Now, my sponsor, North American Trading, will send you a copy of this Senate bill free of charge. Now, why would they want to do that? Well, the answer is really a good marketing ploy. They sell gold, and believe me, after you've read this bill and you know what's coming, you'll be interested, and they know that. So it's easy. Call them. They'll send it to you free of charge. The number is 1-800-877-9799. That's 1-800-877-9799. North American Trading. And just try and make use of the last couple of moments before the bottom of the hour to go to JoAnn and Star. We'll do that out of the bottom of the hour fresh. I've got some information you need. I just talked a moment ago to Linda Moulton Howe about the Santilli pictures, which are going to be published in our newsletter. These are 5 separate photographs of what purports to be an alien creature being autopsied. And there's been a great deal of talk about it. I've interviewed Mr. Santilli. We have enhanced versions of these photographs available as of about an hour ago on our bulletin board system. I repeat, enhanced copies of these photographs available on our bulletin board system. In addition, they will be published in our newsletter. So there are 2 ways to get them. To call our bulletin board is area code 702-727-1709. You've got to have a computer and a modem, and you can download the photographs free of charge at area code 702-727-1709. We well understand most of you don't have a computer. So in the next issue of our newsletter, we're publishing all 5 photographs by special permission from Ray Santilli in London. If you want the newsletter, it is $29.95 a year. As long as you order now, you'll get the issue with the photos. Have I said enough? To get the newsletter, the number is 1-800-917-4278. That's 1-800-917-4278. Or send a check or money order for $29.95 to newsletter, 744 East Pine Street, P-I-N-E, Central Point, Oregon, zip code 97502. Newsletter, 744 East Pine, Central Point, Oregon, 97502. Max, the Crystal Skull, is next.
This hour of Art Bell was recorded for rebroadcast at this time. Please do not call.
From the Kingdom of Nye, we continue with your calls on Dreamland with Art Bell. Call Art now, toll free at 1-800-618-8255. 1-800-618-TALK. First-time callers, area code 702-727-1222. 702-727-1222. Or the wildcard line at area code 702-727-1295. 727-1295 in the 702 area code. Now again, here's Art Bell.
Now again, here I am, and into the land of crystal skulls in just a moment. Should be an interesting one. Mrs. Edwards if she's a female, she's going to love flowers. JoAnn, you were going to tell us, we got a couple of minutes here, the scientists, what have they found out?
Sure. Clyde C. Snow, who's a forensic anthropologist, and Max was in the state coroner's office in Oklahoma City, they have studied it. Betty Pat Gatliff, who pioneered putting faces on skulls, she has studied it, and they said whatever carved this had such a high technology of just what the human skull was that it's just almost impossible to duplicate. This one's 18 pounds and 2 ounces, and it's anatomically correct from one side to the next. It's carved with 28 teeth with wisdom teeth carved in.
Wow.
And it's got the pineal, what they call the pineal gland. Beneath it, it's the only ultra skull, meaning that there's an ultra indention beneath it. And what that is, it's got the mastoid bone that it sits back on, and that ultra indention is the medulla oblongata that connects our neck to our spinal cord. So everything that we possess in our skull, Max possesses in his, and it's all in the right spot.
Ooh, that's...
Plus, it also has major inclusions that goes down the cheek line, and these inclusions are so great that they come up through the surface where the surface is slightly cracked open. You can put your fingernail inside of some of these cracks. So this is not considered really the type nor quality of quartz crystal that a crystal carver would use or could use to carve into with diamond tip tools. They would pass over any number of these major inclusions, and it's going to instantly shatter.
Well, they wouldn't have had diamond tip tools back then anyway,
they didn't.
Right?
And that's two reasons why that they what they know is they realize that the Mayans used them in their ceremonies. But again, they're not believed to be created by the Mayans for those two reasons, because they did not possess diamond tip tools that we know of, and there's no crystal mines in any Mayan site.
Do you want to say something, Star?
Well, there's so much to say.
All right, well then, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll hold it for when we come out of the top of the hour here. But let's put it this way, Star. You've worked with Max very closely.
Yes.
And I've got two literate ladies here. So, Star, I'm going to just ask you, in your opinion, is Max the real thing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what I've been learning from Max, I can scarcely find the words to describe. That I will say that my entire life has been totally changed since Max came into my life.
That's a pretty serious statement, all right?
Yes, it is.
You should see the letters I get where Max appears to people in dreams and what he's done for all of these people.
Well, I once saw a movie about a healer. And it was a wonderful movie, actually, and I can't recall the name of it right now. But everybody in the community, once they figured out that she could heal, demanded to know where the power came from.
Mm-hmm.
And if it didn't come from God, they said, then she must be a witch. And they damn near burned her at the stake. So you two potentials, hold on there just a moment. We'll come right back to you. This is Dreamland